Heather, nice to meet you as well.
Police departments that are participating in protecting ICE and protecting murderers that are housed. It looks like this might be state police.
Whoops. Hang on a second. Okay. Okay, everyone, we're just a minute or two until we also have Jose Vega and Anthony Aguilar joining. So give us just a minute. Actually, okay.
The thing seems to be going on Twitter.
Okay, good.
And
hang on, everyone. People are joining. Everyone's got very busy schedules, so. Okay, Mark, I see you. I'll bring you in just a second.
That's sweet. I see Matt liked the tweet, so I guess he's watching. Hope he's well.
Yep. And hold on just a moment. I apologize. Having an issue here.
What's up, Jose?
Howdy, Mr. Harbo. How are you doing?
Good to see you, dude. Good to see you, man. It's been about 1 year since I came, or two, was it a year and a half ago?
You're coming back out again, right?
Possibly. I'm always down for a good time. I'm out in Idaho right now doing some campaign work out here right now.
We're about to. I was just on Due Dissidence earlier today talking about the petitioning drive again. So
were you?
Oh yeah.
Nice. Yep, we're out here. We're working on a campaign out here to get medical marijuana on the ballot out here in Idaho. They're the last state other than Kansas. So, slanging signatures, man.
Must be kind of cold out there.
It's beautiful though. It's in the 40s, no snow. You wouldn't believe. So, yep.
All right. We are live now, right?
We are live.
Okay.
Just hang on just a moment. We're waiting.
Good to see you, Jose, though. Seriously, though. Keep it up, man.
Good to see you too, man. We gotta reconnect after this.
No worries, man. No worries.
Good to see you as well, Jose.
Oh, absolutely. Mr. Husseini. We've ran into each other so many times. I was very happy to see you do that intervention on the last few days of the Biden administration.
Mm-hmm.
That was very good. So I'm glad to be joining you on this forum too. It's good.
Absolutely. You have some familiarity with such interventions, I think.
Yes, I've dabbled in them, so
The good kind of interventions.
Yeah, that's right. All right, just finishing putting this up on my sites too.
Yeah, it's feeding off of Twitter, by the way, on my Twitter's feed, or what that's worth.
Jose, you running the Dem primary? You're on mute.
I'm doing both, the fusion ballots.
That's awesome. I can't do that in Ohio.
Yeah, I decided to take advantage of every possible avenue.
Hey, I support you, dude. I'm not running in 2026, and I will in 2028, but I was strongly leaning towards running as a Dem and to blow their thing up. But you can't run as an independent. The signatures are due on the exact same day in Ohio.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Wait. If the signatures are due on the same day, does that mean you have to make people sign twice? Like, let's say you wanted to try, could you get people to sign twice?
Essentially, I'm like 95% sure on this, but I looked into it. I'm like, could I do both? And you can't do both. They're due. My signatures were due in the Democratic primary. When as an independent in 2024, they were due on the day of the Democratic primary, I believe, or something like. Anyway, in Ohio, I don't think I can do it, but I applaud you for doing that fusion thing up in New York and sticking it to them.
Yeah, it was. Go ahead.
Yeah, I understand. I don't want to interrupt, but I understand, and I'm going to try to write this up, that in Maryland, the same person can't run in a primary in the general, but there was an instance in somebody running, I think, for a seat in the Baltimore City Council. And what happened was one person ran in the primary, and then their campaign manager ran in the
Oh, that's
general.
nice. I like that.
And it was very successful. They ended up with like over 30. It was they didn't quite win. They actually came close to winning by
I like that.
Green Party standards. It was a real out of the box kind of thing. So I think that could be an interesting model.
Wow. I know that Tashama
Really?
Sawant out in California is taking advantage of the jungle primary rules, right? So she's not a Democrat, but she can also be in the primary.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
So
I
that's
thought
what
she was
she's
running as
doing.
an independent. Nice.
No, she
Yeah,
is. but
So California has that top two where it's hard for anybody who's not a D or an R to get in the top two.
Well, she's going for it.
Well, hopefully someone else can get in there, but it's rare. Sometimes you get two Ds, sometimes two Rs, but it's hard to break through that for the out there. There's several parties that have ballot status, plus independents. Yeah.
We just waiting for Tony here.
Okay, should we, Mark, should we wait a couple more minutes for Anthony? I know he had another thing right up till now. Oh, whoops, I'm sorry, hold on.
Well, if people are watching and waiting, maybe we should get
Yeah.
started.
True. I'm not able to add him to the stage. Hold on. There we go. There he is. Okay.
Hi, Mark.
Hey, my friend, how are you? It's good to see you again.
To see you.
Okay. Okay, there he is.
Can you hear me and see me?
There's Anthony. Welcome, Anthony.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Thank you.
I know you're in a lot of back-to-back meetings and shows, so thank you for making the time to be here.
This is great. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to get started. I wanted to play, I had a separate clip, but I'm having an issue with it. So I'm going to play it straight from Instagram, and maybe you all, I don't know, Anthony, you were there, but maybe you all have seen it already. But this is Josie speaking, Josie Gilbio in Minneapolis. So here we go.
Troopers and game wardens using military tactics to flank against U.S. citizens. I went from being a reporter to being a protester because I am not going to sit back quietly while they take over this country. This is not what I served for. This is not what I fought for. Freedom, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is no longer here. It never was. This community is feeling it. And if you think it's not going to come to your community, you are wrong. They have just approved billions of dollars for ICE to escalate, to hire more people. It will not stop here. This is a pilot. This is a testing ground. As a U.S. citizen and a veteran, I was not safe. I was detained. I was arrested without charge. Under probable cause, I was not read my rights. There were no charges against me. If you think this cannot happen to you, you are wrong. It is time for the American people, no matter what political affiliation, to understand that the violation of our Constitution is real. It is happening. We are losing our rights, but we hold the power. We, the people, hold the power. We must unite. We don't have another choice but to unite across political affiliation. Find a common ground. Enter into community organizations, mutual aid and support, because that is the only way we are going to combat the militarization of our country. I have been to the Middle East just this year, 3 times, 4 different countries. You don't want this there. What they have there, the militarization of these countries, you do not want that here, and it is here. Do not let it spread. Stand up. Fight back. Speak out. Stop letting fear stop you. Stop letting propaganda control your way of thinking. We, the people, hold the power, and we must use it.
Right.
So, welcome to the first No Peasants, Independent, and Third Party Candidate panel, because voting for the Uniparty again and expecting a different result is the definition of insanity. To quote Matt Ho, who couldn't be here tonight, but from his most recent Substack post, the Democrats' worthlessness as the opposition political party has been demonstrated clearly this past year, and we shouldn't forget that Democratic policies, when in control of the White House and Congress of the last decades, built the infrastructure and hired the personnel the Trump administration is using to terrorize our communities. But before we get started, I want to remind everyone, if you can, please, if you're not on the panel, you're watching, go to nopeasants.org and check the box at the top of the page to pledge to vote for people who will actually represent you, not say they will and then represent special interests, a foreign government, or our own out-of-control government that is regularly violating the Constitution. And that did not just start with the Trump administration. We must dispel the myth that independent and third-party candidates can't win. Is a self-fulfilling prophecy because we know we have the numbers. See the recent Gallup polling, and it's all on the No Peasants website if you want to check it out, showing a plurality. 45% of all voters are independent. And for Gen Z, it's 56%. This was also evident in the 2024 election results with split ticket voting. We are certainly in for a huge battle on all fronts. We need independent media. We need the asses of the masses on the street, although that has become extremely dangerous, and we must be smart about it. And we need people running for office. Do not let anyone tell you electoral politics don't matter. And with that, I will hand the mic to my co-hosts, Michael Harbaugh and Sam Husseini, filling in for Matt, and also Phil Anderson. Feel better. I also have this awful cold, so excuse me. We'll see you both next time.
Thank you, Kelly. I'll kick it off here. My name's Michael Harbaugh, independent candidate for Congress here in 2024 out of Dayton, Ohio. Everyday person, never run for Congress before. I'm a food truck owner, and one of the biggest things, part of my campaign was to show that everyday people can run for office. I think we really have to get that back. Experts, they've led us down this path. So my campaign was a very heavy grassroots campaign. Saw me going down to North Carolina to help the flood victims, up to East Palestine, Ohio for the toxic train derailment to kick it off. Tons of grassroots activism, protesting the genocide in Gaza, the only candidate in the race. I really wanted to do a on-the-ground, hands-on, activist-style campaign. I'm very happy with the work that I did in 2024. And I'm taking a break now in 2026, and we'll be running again in 2028. So that was a little bit about my campaign, but mainly I wanted to, focus on the candidates here. Kelly, do you want to kick it to the candidates or back to Sam?
We'll go to Sam for a moment.
Cool. All right,
Sam?
so that's a little intro for myself, and I'll kick it over to Sam.
Thanks so much. I'm really happy to be part of this. Many congratulations to Kelly for pulling these together. I sat in on a couple of them, and I think it's a really important, vital idea and we want to, primarily focus on the candidates and the sheer guts that it takes to get out there, put yourself out there, take the slings and arrows, and try to assert something real that breaks out of the duopoly. One of my interests in being here, most people know me as an independent journalist and some nonprofit work, but a primary motive for me being here is my votepack.org project. And the idea behind that, we've had a lot of really great, I'm sort of sitting in for Matt Ho, incredibly qualified candidate. He ran for office a couple of years ago. When he resigned as a top official in the State Department in Afghanistan, made the front page of the Washington Post, incredibly poised and eloquent on so many issues. He got major media because they tried to prevent him from getting on the ballot. I remember hearing, relatively positive. I never heard of a Green Party candidate get such a positive report on NPR in my life. But he ended up with 1 or 2% or something. And I think that part of the problem, part of the obstacle that's so hard to overcome is this so-called spoiler effect. And that's what VotePack tries to overcome. It tries to do jujitsu on it. Instead of allowing people to say, oh, I can't vote for you because I don't want to help the other guy, I don't want to help the Republican or whatever, you say, well, what you got to do is pair up with somebody on the other side. And then the candidate can bring people together and both pair up and vote for the candidate. And it's a matter of, the grassroots literally coming together with an anti-establishment candidate. And I think that there's so much that can make that possible. Obviously, the genocide and people being repelled by that from both the left and the right, but so many other issues, from the attacks on freedom of speech to the power of big tech, power of Wall Street. Kelly, all of your excellent work on the Assange case and so on, that brought a lot of people together from the left and right, and we got to learn from this and build on it so that we can turn movements into electoral victories and really shift things. I've been thinking about how the Tea Party knocked out Eric Cantor at their height. They translated a grassroots movement, blemishes and all. You can critique the Tea Party, obviously, but they managed to translate the movement into something that had an electoral resonance. And then movements can get corrupted and so on. We got to watch out for that too. So I hope that candidates here, others who are thinking of running, particularly in in districts where it's close between the Democrat and the Republican, those might be the most ideally set up for something like VotePact. So I hope the candidates here and others will keep that in mind, and I really look forward to hearing from the candidates.
Okay, and Mark, who is Anthony's great campaign manager, I'm just going to put you backstage. Just wave if you want to come back, maybe in a bit, but so we can see everyone that are here. So, Anthony is this year's Sam Adams Award recipient, and if you don't know what that is, go and check it out. I met him on this, I think it was the 7th of January, along with getting to meet some people in person that have been my personal heroes for a very long time, most of whom I met while working on Randy Credico's show. I got to meet Colleen Rowley in person finally, and Bill Binney, and of course Ray McGovern hosting, and Karen Kwiatkowski. But it was there was a play at the beginning, about Rachel Corrie and what happened, and then Anthony and everyone else spoke, and it was really amazing. And your courage. I was so excited when I heard you say you had an announcement coming up soon. So I will hand it to you now, Anthony.
Yep. Thank you very much, and to everyone here on the panel. And I also wanted to, I know he's not here, but say hello to Matt Ho. I have a lot of respect for him and all the work that he's done and for his voice. And I'm running in North Carolina District 13 as a Green Party candidate. The way I explain it to people that ask me. I am not a spoiler. I am an enhancer. I'm
That's
giving
right.
options. I'm providing a better choice. I believe that at 250 years of our nation's history, that once again, we are at a time that there comes a time in the course of human events that we must break those ties that bind. And those ties of oppression are this two-party system that continue to sell us a lie that it's either this choice or this choice. And the Democratic Party is no longer a suitable or feasible counter option to the Republican Party. And the Republican Party is not suited to lead this country. We need new options. So I'm running as a Green because I want to be that anti-establishment candidate. I am that anti-establishment candidate, again, that is not a spoiler, but an enhancer. I am, in this district, I am the better of the options. I don't, the incumbent Republican takes APAC money. He's all for sending more of our tax dollars or our countrymen to die in wars. The Democrat here is a weak candidate, and the Republican incumbent will likely win in the primary or come out of the primary ahead. And I'm hoping to have everyone not voting Republican or even those reporting Republican change and back me, because I'm running for the people of this district, not for a party, not for a president, not for the military industrial complex. I want to put Americans first. All Americans first, not just the elite, not just the special interest groups, all Americans first. And I will explain it that way throughout my campaign, that as running as a Green Party, we need to break that paradigm that thinking that a third party, and especially in today's political environment, is a spoiler. That is not true. That is what they want you to believe. We are the enhancer. We are the solution. We are the savior of this broken system of nefarious politics of the two-party system. So that's why I'm running, and that's why I'm running as a Green. For my values and what I stand for, but two, I am not one that believes that the two-party system is what we must back, and that's the way it must be. History shows otherwise, and I've told this to others. I'll say it here. I'm probably preaching to the choir, but this Democratic Republican binary limited menu of options is not even how our country was founded. George Washington ran unaffiliated, and every president after him ran in a multi-party campaign against multiple other parties, and at times switched parties. The Republican Party didn't come along until Abraham Lincoln, and in his second run, he ran as a Union nationalist. The Democrats didn't come along until Jackson, and he ran against Quincy Adams, and Quincy Adams actually started a new party, the anti-Jackson Party, which was the Union nationalists then. And Adams won. The establishment has always said that the other party is the spoiler, and that's not true. And since we've had this Democrat-Republican from Ulysses S. Grant and on to our current president, what has it gotten us? Out of the 19 Republicans and the 11 Democrats that have held office since Ulysses S. Grant in this binary choice of Republican and Democrat, where has it gotten us? So it's time for a change, and we are that change.
Bravo.
Okay. Ted, please go. And I'm so sorry I have to grab a Kleenex. I'll be right back. Ted.
Yeah. Hi there. I'm Ted Brown. I'm a libertarian who's running for U.S. Senator in Texas. And I ran in 2024 for the same office against Senator Ted Cruz and Democrat Colin Allred. And I'm happy to say that I got a record number of votes for a Libertarian Senate candidate in Texas, 267,000 votes. So I think a lot of Texans were actually looking for an alternative to the corrupt duopoly. And they just had two candidates that were just total tools of the establishment then. And I campaigned then, and I'm campaigning now as the only candidate who's not beholden to any special interest groups or corrupt party leaders. I'm not going there to schmooze with lobbyists or raise money or anything like that. I'm going there to uphold the Constitution and to fight for individual rights and against the big guys that have been oppressing people for so long. And so I hope to do that again in the 2026 election. I don't know who my opponents are going to be yet. Senator John Cornyn is the incumbent, but he could be defeated for the nomination. There's two strong Democrats running. Democrats haven't elected anyone to any statewide office in Texas since 1994, if you can believe that. It's one of the longest dry spells of any party in any state, as far as I know. So the Republicans are pretty well organized in Texas and keep voter turnout down. And they do whatever they can to stop people from voting, it seems. And so they're certainly going to do more of that this time. But the issues are so important. Some of them are the same as they were last time, but there's the issues that are coming up this time are because of the Trump administration. This massive ICE enforcement operation. As a libertarian, I'm opposed to ICE. We wanted to abolish ICE and its previous named agency since the 70s even. We've been against these guys forever because we want it to be very easy to legal or to immigrate here legally. And that's certainly not what we've got now. It's like some sort of just Byzantine or Kafkaesque process of trying to immigrate here legally. And that needs to change. We need an Ellis Island style immigration system. And of course, what Trump's doing and his people are doing just the exact opposite. They're trying to scare and intimidate anybody from coming here. And they're trying to throw out people that have every right to be here. They're legal. A lot of them are perfectly legal. So it's just terror in the streets trying to damage these lives of these people who have just come here to find a better life. So it's a major issue for me. Foreign policy is a big deal. This Venezuela just came upon us, the bombing of those boats. That was pretty shocking. I came out against that immediately. Like, they're killing people. It's first-degree murder because they have no idea who those people are or what their jobs are, where they're from, what cargo they're carrying. It's just absolute murder. And then to invade a country and seize their president. I mean, how would we like it if somebody did that to us? I mean, a lot of people would like it if somebody came in and seized Trump, but we still don't really want any foreign government coming in and seizing our president. That would be a terrible precedent to do something like that. But it was an act of war. We had no right to do that. We were blockading their shores, stealing their oil. And now there's apparently some flotilla going to Iran to attack them. And then Marco Rubio says, oh, we have 10,000 or 40,000 or whatever number of troops, U.S. troops over there that are threatened. Well, get them out of there. We shouldn't have any U.S. troops in the Middle East. We need to close all our bases in the Middle East. I'm a strict non-interventionist in foreign policy. The U.S. should not be involved all over the world like that. And the Middle East has been the worst of all. It just so happened that Venezuela popped up there, but usually Middle East is the place to oppose all this U.S. intervention. So I'm certainly going to be fighting on those issues this year. Ending the war on drugs, especially cannabis, is very important. One of the areas where I agree with the ones we've mentioned so far are in agreement with the Green Party. And I did get a lot of Green support in Texas in 2024 on some of these issues that we have agreement on. And there's also fiscal issues where, I do believe that the $38 trillion national debt is not sustainable. And we do need to cut a lot out of the budget, including the Pentagon, which really needs it, which is one of the biggest points of spending. But we definitely need to look at that. And these spending bills that are being passed right now are ridiculous. Obviously, ICE funding is one of the most important one to all of us about not funding ICE, but they're going to fund ICE. Of course, they're going to fund ICE. They fund everything, and all of these bills that are currently to keep the government open are just terrible. So just way overspending and too much government involvement in our lives. So that's where I am in this campaign.
Well, thank you, Ted. All right, Jose, you have the floor.
Yeah, hi. So my name is Jose Vega, and I'm running for Congress in the 15th Congressional District.
Woohoo!
My second time running. The first time I ran in 2024, I ran strictly as an independent candidate. Mr. Harbaugh came out. He petitioned for me. It was a great time. I was younger. I'm 27 now. I was 25 when I first ran. Big bushy afro. And now, I'm taking myself a little more seriously because I got a haircut since then, kind of like Tony's. And the real reason, though, and I'm doing something where I'm taking advantage of the fusion ballot laws here in New York. I identify myself very much as an independent. I am not a Democrat. I am not a Republican. And let me make this very clear. Should I win the Democratic primary, that does not mean I'm suddenly going to call Chuck Schumer Papa Bear or think Hakeem Jeffries is doing a great job. I completely detest both parties.
That's
right. I'm running for Congress here in the Bronx, which has been the poorest congressional district for over 50 years. And it has had Republican borough presidents, Democrat borough presidents, and it's completely entrenched. And I'm taking advantage of the fusion laws because I intend to get into the Congress through every means of possible available to me. And most importantly, I think about the 250th anniversary of the founding of this country. And I think specifically to the Declaration of Independence, when a long train of abuses and usurpations pursuing invariably the same object evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism. It is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. You know, I believe that. I genuinely do. And I take into heart what Dr. King said in his Beyond Vietnam speech in the beginning when he was talking about why the Southern Christian Leadership Conference was created. And in one of its tenets was to remind the American people of its values. And then he quotes Langston Hughes, "America never was to me, yet America must be." And I think about people like that, you know, who can all admit maybe the Declaration of Independence wasn't written with them in their mind. I don't think Gouverneur Morris, one of the founding fathers of this country, who's from the Bronx, who stood up at the Constitutional Convention and denounced slavery, ever thought that a man named Jose Vega would be in his neighborhood, you know, saying that what he said and what he wrote, because he wrote the preamble to the Constitution, you know, the words that people like to quote, "We the people," that was him. And he penned a physical document. I don't think he ever thought that a Jose Vega would be benefiting from that Constitution, from his speeches. And yet here I am forcing myself at the table, and I'm saying that document is mine. It is now, because I am an American citizen. I take that identity and I wear it proudly. And that's why I'm running, because I'm trying to remind people of what it means to be an American. And it is not this sort of masquerading as a bad British Empire. I don't think that at all. I think about what the founding fathers did 250 years ago when they listed the long train of abuses, you know, and they decided to do something about it. And a lot of those abuses sound like the stuff that's happening to us today. And yet most people are just sitting down, just complaining about it. You know? And so I think it's time now people decide to declare their independence again. And that's why I'm running, and that's why I'm here.
Thank you, Jose. Well, I think it might be good to start off talking about ICE. And actually, I wanted to touch on I listened to a majority of that several-hour Twitter space that you were on yesterday, Anthony, and I thought maybe we could talk a little bit about that and sort of what we're seeing, a split on the right. And Ted, that might be a good question for you too to jump in. Well, and you, Jose, all of you. But what we're seeing on the right is sort of really is been a little shocking to me that there have been the number of people that seem to be going against the Constitution. So I wondered if you wanted to talk a little bit about some of the things that were said to you last night in that space, and if you've, I don't know, thought on any of them, and just how do we deal with that? How do we talk to those people?
My position remains clear from last night to today, regardless of what was said to me by those that I frankly think ignorant. And I don't use the word ignorant to be insulting. I use it in the sense of the definition, is that they don't know. ICE must be abolished. That's my position. Not reformed, not changed in leadership, abolished. And we have laws in this country. We have sunset laws that actually we use to shut down federal agencies that no longer serve their purpose. In fact, when ICE was created in 2003, the Immigration Naturalization Services was shut down to create ICE. And we have these agencies that are the tentacles of the global war on terror and the Patriot Act that were put into place for counterterrorism type roles that have now turned on the American people. ICE must be abolished.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Anthony on that. And that's the problem, though, in that I think it was the Big Beautiful Bill a few months ago, is where they increased the size of ICE by billions upon billions of dollars. So it's
169 billion.
Yeah, the largest federal law enforcement agency now, and even bigger than most of the armies of the world. It's amazing how large it is, and it's going to be Trump's secret police if it gets away with what's going on in Minneapolis. I mean, that's absolutely insane, the way they're violating people's constitutional rights right and left, whether you're an immigrant or not. And the way they're just behaving up there, of course, is what's causing people to protest against them, of course, because they should be protested against. And then that's going to be more of an excuse for Trump and his people to call out more military, to invoke the Insurrection Act, and try to like just impose martial law in this country. And we certainly can't allow that to happen. I mean, these Republicans who are supposedly for the Constitution, well, not Trump, but a lot of other Republicans have always given lip service to the Constitution, just fundamentally violate every part of the Bill of Rights, and even are moving into the main body of the Constitution. I mean, they just don't care. They just want power. Power, power, power is all they care about. And they're going to seize as much of it as they can until somebody does something about it. The courts are barely doing anything. And that's about in our the Congress is certainly doing nothing. The Democrats are useless as opposition. They come up with some minor little tweak here and there instead of just trying to be bold and cut off funding. They just probably have a focus group that says, "Oh, it sounds too radical, Chuck," or something like that. But no, it's time for dynamic action, and the Democrats sure ain't it. That's for sure. They need those of us who are outside the two-party system to fight these, fight the power. In other words.
That's right.
Just
your father, or you can talk about your stepfather, right?
So my stepfather was illegally abducted by ICE on the week leading up to Thanksgiving.
Oh.
And he was in Newark at first. And then I made a video outside of the place, the Delancey Hall in Newark. And after that video went up, it went viral. They moved him to Arizona. My mother and I never got to see him. And the reason is because if you try to visit somebody who's in an ICE facility, they give you odd hours. And only on certain days are you allowed to actually visit the inmate, and it's all dependent on their last name. So when we got there, we were told, actually, you can't see him until Sunday at 9 a.m. to a certain time, and you have to come back, basically. And so it was like, okay, we visited him on a Tuesday. We said, we're going to come back Thanksgiving Day because they were opening it up for anybody. But before Thanksgiving Day came, they flew him first to Arizona, and then they moved him to El Paso, Texas, where he currently resides now. And he's been there since that day. And so since that day, and he signed a self-deportation order in December because he just couldn't take it anymore. They were abusing him. They were treating him like an animal. They were giving him the phone at odd hours, and yet he was still. So he'd signed self-deportation papers saying, just get me out of this country in early December. Well, you know what? We're almost in February now, and he is still there.
Wow.
When I look at ICE, and I understand that this is the reality for thousands of families across the country, right? And it's a difficult thing because, like, I try my best not to be a so-called single issue candidate, but how can I not be when I see ICE is shooting innocent Americans in the streets,
Right.
Or what they're doing, of course, to my stepfather, which I believe might be retribution for the fact that I'm out here loud spoken and I refuse to, to shut my mouth. So I think that's part of the reason why he's still there. But I look at ICE as an extension, because it was birthed out of the Patriot Act. It was birthed out of post 9/11 America, right? It was always supposed to be spread out and used against the American people. It was supposed to be a secret police state. Obama, for example, was one of the people that we used to call the deporter in chief.
Yeah.
I remember when my biological father was still with my mother, they owned a home together, and ICE would come knocking, and my dad would tell them, "No, you have to come back with a warrant. I'm not letting you upstairs," because there were people who were undocumented upstairs. And he said, "You don't have the right to come here." And I remember being like 6, 7, 8 years old, and my dad, just turning them away. And so, I do share Tony's, of course, abolish ICE, but you can't stop there. You have to look at the entire apparatus, the Patriot Act, DHS, which was also committed for counterterrorism, which a lot of our counterterrorism techniques, like for example, I was on a show earlier, just before this, where one of the hosts was talking about the fact that some border patrol sections work with Israeli units on counterterrorism because apparently the Israelis are the best in the world.
Oh man.
So, and just to kind of put the cap on this, I'm a big believer that what we do out there will come back here. It's what's called the imperial boomerang. A lot of terms has been thrown around a lot, and we're seeing it happen right now too. And that's why I've always referred to the Bronx, by the way, as Gaza West. What they're doing over there, they've been doing over here for a very long time. So yes, I'm very much in line with you, Tony, but I also believe We can't end there. We have to dismantle the entire surveillance state, and we ultimately have to replace it as well.
Mhm.
I'm glad you
I'm
brought that
also an
up.
advocate to dismantle the entire Patriot Act, all
Oh, yeah.
surveillance activities, all funding for surveillance activities against the United States. It is an act that, when put in, was always destined and designed to turn on the American people, and it should be. We should go through and cut the Patriot Act for every dime it has, and abolish ICE and abolish the DHS, and go back to having immigration that welcomes immigrants to our land and has responsible pathways to immigration, not traps.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, the surveillance state, I'm so glad you brought that up, because it is one of the things also on the candidate pledge. And I think I brought this up with you, Anthony, after the Sam Adams Award, because Bill Binney was there, and I interviewed him not too long ago. And I was like, when DHS or other agencies come and they talk about all this really, really technical stuff, the NSA Cyber Command is doing, and you see a lot of Congress, I mean, it's almost comical, except it's not funny, but they're like, oh, my 10-year-old helps me with my phone. Like, they don't know, except with the exception of Thomas Massey. So I think that that's just not acceptable. And you don't have to be a cybersecurity expert, but I think that anyone running for office has a bit of a responsibility to at least say to people that are going to vote for them, if I don't understand what's being, if DHS or whoever comes and says all this stuff in a committee, a hearing, I need to understand what that really means. So I think that we're so far gone in that area because this stuff has been put in place for the last, 20 years or something. So we're way behind on that, and we're seeing, the gray zone's written about it. A lot of people have that, the drones, all the surveillance that's already there. If they're going to shoot people in the street, I think I saw just the other day, there was something where they're wearing the glasses, the smart
glasses, yeah.
Recording. Did you see that in Minneapolis?
Yeah, that's they're wearing them. That's been put into the fielded budget. So when agencies such as this deploy to the field, you have a statutory appropriations budget that funds them, but then you also have an operations budget, and they are burning through that operations budget like fire. I mean, and that more money is going to have to come somewhere. And when you look at now, imagine an ICE deployment of 50 ICE agents to Minneapolis, and when they get there, no hotel will allow them in, and the only hotel that will allow them bumps the price for them to stay there to $200 a night because they don't want them to stay there. Well, that operational budget just went up. You see they're breaking out new toys almost every day, new types of pepper spray, new types of riot gear, new types of equipment, now the Meta glasses. All that comes out of an operations budget that was not forecasted, and it's coming from us. We're paying for it.
And let's be clear, the Democrats funded that too. And
That's
I'm
right.
very glad
That's
to hear some Gen Z people, they seem to be pretty clued into that. They understand.
yeah.
It
Yes,
was
The
they are.
Democrats will never cut anything. They'll never cut any government agency. They just want bigger and bigger government, even if it's some bad part of government. I mean, obviously, puppies and kittens is one thing, but these horrible violations of our rights is something else. And some of these surveillance techniques, like a scene from RoboCop or something, where the robotic cop focuses on somebody, and then it does the face recognition technology and all the person's name and criminal record, and in fact he's wanted, and and for regular people like us who aren't even wanted, they'll say, oh, this is an enemy of the state or whatever, and they'll start trying to take the things. They'll know who everybody is and where everybody is going to be. And is there any way to turn any of this back, really? I mean, how can we cut this off? It's really, really scary, actually, about what we're facing with the government surveillance and what they can do to us.
Well, I think that one of the biggest controls that we need to have is that, obviously the promulgation and the advancement of technology is going to continue. That's the world that we're in. It's a matter of how you use it in the intent. I'll give you an example. Utilizing drones and different analytics software to understand crops or global warming, or to understand how to reduce erosion. Great tools.
Yeah.
Great tools. So drones aren't bad. When the government uses them against their people to surveil them, and they're immune to any laws or restrictions, and when the American people say, well, we want oversight of that, we want to know what you're doing, and they say no, that's the problem.
Yes.
The technology will continue, and we should not just, turn a back to the technology. We should
Right.
turn it back to those that don't want accountability, who think, for example, hey, can we see the video of the boat bombing? No. Well, you said there was nothing to see. You said there was nothing bad.
Mhm.
So let us see it. Well, no, you don't need to see it. Okay, so you're hiding something.
Yeah.
No, you just don't need to see it. Okay, so then I want to see it. No. So when they lie to our face and they lose the trust of the American people, it then goes to question all forms of government, to where, why does the FDA want drones? Well, we want them to monitor crops. Oh, do you? Because I don't think you do. Maybe they do. But every time we have another implementation or expansion of the Patriot Act to turn it inward onto the American people, it further loses the trust of our government, not just in the executive or the judiciary branch, but in all aspects, because there's no accountability.
Right. This is even done locally, where local governments are using drones. There were some cases where they're like flying over people's property.
Yes.
And then sending them a notice saying, hey, is this shed without a permit, or is this deck without a permit, or something like
Yes.
that, or are you
Yes.
growing marijuana, that sort of thing.
Or the lavender program, what was used in Gaza, isn't that what it was called? I think that was related to Palantir, I believe.
So here's the piece, and Jose had mentioned this, and Jose and I share this thought in terms of the imperial boomerang, in that everything that I witnessed in Gaza, inside of Gaza, with the use of the forced displacement, this almost the same as this voluntary, you're voluntarily deporting yourself. So if I'm in Khan Yunis and they're bombing me every day, and I have no food and no water, and the GHF comes in and opens a distribution site for food 8 miles away, I'm not forced to go there. The IDF come and say, you can go. Well, I don't want to go, because as soon as I do, you're going to blow up my house. Well, then I guess you're just going to starve. So you literally see these families making a decision up to the point of dying, to where in some cases, families making that journey from Khan Yunis down south, carrying their children that died on the way of starvation, because they were at the point of, what decision do I make? And without question, without fail, every one of those families that left their homes to go to a distribution site to get food, their home was destroyed. Forced this voluntary displacement, to where they're then forced to do it against their will, but willfully, take everything they have, destroy their lives, surveil them as they're doing it, and then once they get there, collect all the biometric data on them, so you control that entire population. How is that not exactly what ICE is doing?
It seems that way, but I mean, what they're doing over in Gaza is just shocking. And here, our tax dollars are paying for this.
Well, that's a whole other aspect of what our tax dollars are paying for. Yes.
But then to hear that the same people that are doing that over there are training our ICE agents, that was pretty shocking.
And joining the vast majority of the contractors that I worked with, Israel specifically targeted and hired the Infidels Motorcycle Club, because this is a club of veterans who have an Islamophobic view of the world, who think that all Muslims should be wiped off the earth. So Israel specifically hired this group. Now, there are those same members of the Infidels Motorcycle Club that were with GHF doing the atrocities that we witnessed, that are now in ICE.
It's terrible.
I really do wish Matt was here for this part. Before we've got 10 minutes. There are two things that I wanted to bring up, and one of them is about our elections, election security and integrity. It's another thing that I've worked on for many years, and it tends to be an issue that is very partisan when it shouldn't be, because we had the Stop the Steal thing, and after 2020, prior to that, it was all mostly Democrats that fought for election integrity, and it keeps flopping back and forth. But what we do know for sure is that third party and independent candidates really face a lot of hurdles. And Matt, I'm sure Anthony and everybody here probably knows about Matt's story. And that actually involved, every time I hear someone quote Democracy, Democracy Docket, which is Mark Elias's media outlet, I just cringe, and I have to tell this story again, over and over again. It was Mark Elias that interfered and put, this big voter suppression and intimidation campaign, sending people out to people's houses to tell them, don't you want to take your name off the petition to have the Green Party on the ballot? So we really have to get ahead of things, I think, as third party and independent candidates. And you're not being a conspiracy theorist to say, I want transparency. And just let's see, I think I have the graphic of it. I'd love if everyone can go look this up if you haven't heard about it. So I think it was the 14th of January. There was a Supreme Court ruling, and this is actually really huge for for any candidates, but the uniparty candidates are typically not going to challenge anything with the elections. But this particular case, because of the ruling, gives standing to candidates to be able to raise issues and problems with voting rules and stuff before an election. And that is a really big deal. So I don't want to dive into too much about that right now, but it's something that I just want all third party and independent candidates to be aware of, because you all experience some kind of suppression and really difficult times dealing with that. So I think it's good to know, what voting machines you have, and Matt Ho's story is really a victory. He fought back and won. And I have another friend who's an election activist. She's a Democrat, but she fought against a very corrupt board director at the Wake County Board of Elections, and he retired early because of her actions. So we can have small victories like that, and I think that's something we really have to get ahead of. So I wondered if anybody wants to chime in about that. Is your campaign? Do you have anybody on your campaign that might be interested in sort of focusing on that issue? Because I would love to add some to the website, maybe about specifics about your district or anything like that.
If I can piggyback on that, Kelly, just general strategy. Again, I'm going to go back to my initial point. Bless you, Kelly. I feel really responsible because Kelly and her husband dropped by visiting me, and I think I gave her the cold that she's got. So I'm feeling really guilty about this. Lots of great ideas. I'm hearing lots of great ideas, and I'm utterly convinced that each and every one of these candidates is, head and shoulders above, genocidal candidate blue and genocidal candidate red. Okay, but what I think our task is to figure out what the strategies are to get there. And Kelly points to some of the hurdles. I don't know if I put out my vote hack proposal, obviously, that I hope people will look at. Can people get to getting on stage with a debate? What strategies can we acquire? I learned, I mentioned this very briefly at the beginning, but I want to make it part of the record here. I'm in Maryland, and I heard about, you can't, in Maryland, the same person can't run in the general and in the primary and then in the general. So what a couple of people did was somebody ran in the general for a local campaign, and then their campaign manager, they ran in the primary, and then the campaign manager ran in the general. So they kind of had a two-stage
I like that.
campaign. So we got to think of these strategies to translate the hunger that the American people feel for real change, to not go in this pendulum, this guillotine pendulum that we've been living through for all of these decades. I mean, all these things about, you got to start your independence. I've been hearing them at least as far back as, 2000 from Ralph Nader, if not before. How do we make them real? What strategies can we employ? Tony, you're a military guy. You know how to operationalize stuff from the idea to making it real. And I think we need that energy.
Well, I think we need psychologists practically, because here you have people who all say in all the polls, no, we aren't satisfied with these two major parties,
Right.
these two establishment parties. And then when there is an alternative, they say, nah, I can't vote for him, not going to win.
Because they're stuck in fear. They're stuck in
Yeah.
fear to their lesser evil, right?
Yeah.
And we can talk about how ICE, to do it in solidarity with Gaza, but what the Democratic Party is trying to do is to say, it's a reason for you to stay on our reservation to continue to be served, because look at how bad Trump is. At least we weren't gunning you down on the streets, right?
Right.
Where they set up
how do we overcome that?
Yeah, when we're talking about president, though, is one thing. If president or governor, I can see how people might say, wow, I'm kind of worried about who's holding those particular offices. But what about for the Texas state legislature? The person's like one of 150 representatives. How are they going to harm the state, even if they do something crazy? You know, give somebody a chance. Give a green a chance. Give a libertarian a chance. You know, even in these larger bodies where we can actually show the public that we can perform and we're not nuts, and that we can actually legislate and help people. But unless we get there to show them that, we're not going to get there. You know, it's kind of circular, as you know.
I think we should expand to the state office, the state candidates as well.
Mm-hmm.
I have I have thoughts on that. I think for one, people do want big ideas. And I think you have to mean it and you have to be genuine about it. I don't think it's very much, look, the other two people suck, I'm different, give a chance on me. Not casting any aspersion on you, Ted. I mean, a lot of people are going to think that will be in our advantage, but we have to be there to meet them and say, listen, you know, we're not just the alternative because the other two suck. We want you to be proud to vote for us. Now, here's a sort of conundrum that I run into when people outside the district who look into my district, they say, well, your district is very poor. It's the poorest in the nation. So people only care about kitchen table issues. So stop talking about Gaza. Stop talking about Ukraine. Stop talking about foreign affairs. And you know what? Don't even talk about stuff that happens in other states. You know, Minneapolis, Minnesota. The worst thing I've heard was, you know, that guy Preddy, he'd be alive right now if he wasn't out there. You know, so that's his fault. Focus on your district. You know, I detest that because when I do talk to the constituency here, they are tired of being talked to like idiots. Okay, they are. You know, we have the lowest voter rate, not because, and I don't agree with that. I think people should be voting, but I understand why people don't vote here because they have abused and used so many times over and over and over again. And they're like, well, I vote for this person, nothing changed. I voted for that person, nothing changed. The best I heard was I voted for Obama, nothing changed. I voted for Trump. It only got worse. Nothing changed. So I come here and I say, well, what if we brought high-speed rail to the entire country? Well, what's that going to do for me? What's that going to do for the future? What is that going to do for your kids? Because your kids are going to be the ones building it. And that rolls into a big part of my policy platform. I explain to them the Space Civilian Construction Corps. It's part of my platform. I say we can have federal guaranteed jobs with your kids working on national programs like a high-speed rail, like bringing energy density, that make sure nobody has to go without light anywhere in this country. And then I tell them about the stuff I do, like on Fridays with the International Peace Coalition call, which both Tony and I are going to be on tomorrow at 11, where we do talk about what's going on internationally, whether it's Iran, Gaza, Ukraine, because I believe in the dignity of my constituents, that they are intelligent enough to understand as much as I can. And I see myself as an educator more than anything else. And when I bring that energy to the constituents, it's infectious. They do want it. They do want more of that. And even the worst case I've gotten is people who say, I want to believe in you, but I don't know if voting is the way to go. I don't know. And you're just one congressman. Actually, no, we have all of us. We're a whole district. We're a whole district. We're a whole, county of people. If you just take a chance, because you really can't go wrong. You're going to be stuck with these two parties. Now's the time to break out, because you're speaking to that part of them that's in the back of their mind that knows, I can't keep voting for the same two parties. Something is wrong. We need bigger ideas. You have to give them the permission to bring that to the forefront of their mind. And that takes a lot of work, because you're fighting against all this propaganda all the time, the corporate news media. And that's why it's important to get organized. And the previous attempts from people who ran before as independents will add up. We will have a breakthrough. And I believe this is the year.
That's right.
Well, I would love it if you guys could all help us try to get these numbers up. Just go to the Peasant website, click the button. The more you can mention that, I want that number to be, in the thousands and maybe even bigger. But once people see that, I think that is going to help dispel that, because we hear that all the time, the spoiler thing. Oh, they can't really win. And I think that would help a lot. I'd like to have this big number counter on the site that's got really big numbers. And then I have another, I guess I'll call it a homework assignment. But I was wondering if you guys, because, it occurred to me, I heard, about Preddy and Alex Preddy, and that, it's going to go to court. And I thought, we see these most shocking things happen on the streets. And then it's like, okay, well, justice is going to be served in the courtroom, right?
Mm-hmm. Nah.
And what I realized is that, and I'm guilty of this too, is that, in the past, at least I look at it now, but you go to vote and you don't know who all these judges are, typically. I don't think party matters anymore, but it used to be when I was voting one party. I wanted to know, I had to at least look up what party are these judges. But I'm talking about digging in, and this is another thing I think maybe someone on each of your campaigns maybe could do this, is digging in. It's public record. How did these judges that are on your ballot along with you, how did they vote in these, or excuse me, how did they rule in these cases, the landlord cases or whatever? Because I feel like they're this wall of power that's kind of hidden.
Let's put them on blast.
And I think that's something. I'm sorry, Michael, please go ahead.
I said no. Yeah, I said sure. Let's put them on blast. Nobody knows. No, who keeps track of what judges are voting for and how they're ruling in cases of tenant rights? Are they ruling on the side? And they're up for election, and people are like, "That's a great."
Well, some are elected, some are appointed. Yeah. But I mean, I think we just don't know, and then so we get all, something bad happens, and then we just, it's going to go to court, and a year or two later. I mean, and it's a big battle, but I think we need to try to start educating people on that as well. And I can see, I bet, Jose, you could get some young people in your district on board with that. Hopefully all of you could, have someone that wants to volunteer. I mean, because most of it is available, it's public record, but it takes some digging.
Well, one thing to note is, like some states, like in Texas, all the judges are elected and in partisan elections. And I do want to give a plug out, if I could, plug for Mark Ash, who's a libertarian who's running for the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals, which is a statewide office which has all the criminal appeals, unlike the Supreme Court, which has civil appeals. And Mark is a criminal defense attorney, great guy running for the statewide judicial position to actually stand up for people's rights who are being abused by the criminal justice system. So I do want to put a plug in for Mark Ash for Court of Criminal Appeals.
Great. I mean, I think we should expand this to, like I said, to those state and local offices as well. And that's what I want to do here is just, I built the website. I've interviewed a lot of candidates over the years, and I love doing it. And it's just great to meet people that, like you guys, that stick your neck out and get out there and do this. But I would just, for my part, I'd love to be able to put them on the website, put, a link to their campaign, and maybe try to join forces on some of these things. And I think, the elections and the judges, that's a big stuff that we need to have more transparency about. So I guess I'll wrap it up there. I know you guys are all exhausted. So thank you for spending the whole hour here, and nice to see all of you again. So pass it on to, I'd love to talk to Greg Stoker, I believe it is. I haven't connected with him yet. Other candidates, tell them to come on and have a conversation and sign the pledge. We want voters to see that you mean, you stand by your word, and that's what we hope to do. So cool. All right. Thank you. I'm going to end the.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.
Ending. I'm sorry, I forgot something else I want to say real quick. Just something to think about, just food for thought. So I know everyone has been quickly moving over to something called Upscroll. And I was alarmed about this. I have very minimal cybersecurity knowledge, but I have a kind of introductory cybersecurity certification. It's a big interest of mine. And immediately when I heard about this, I thought, oh, great, we have another platform. But here's the problem, and I'm not criticizing specifically the CEO. I don't know anything about him much, although I heard he worked for Oracle, so we'll see. But they are using, using some of the servers, Amazon web servers, And I don't know if anybody remembers what happened to Parler, which was more of a right-leaning app, but they got pulled off of Amazon. And I think we're being naive to think that that's not possible, even if the people running Upscrolled aren't trying to do that. So I'm going to end with a clip that will show you why. And if Matt's still watching, he knows this clip because I played it before on Candidates for Assange. But I want everyone to consider it, that I think it's possibly a surveillance tool, kind of like Twitter was or is. And I just think we should keep that in mind when there are efforts to label people domestic terrorists. I mean, we've had police in Miami showing up at someone's door because of a Facebook post. So it's just something to keep in mind, and I think we should push on Upscroll to give us answers about this. Are you going to have servers that the FBI and U.S. Intel doesn't have a backdoor to? So that's my spiel, and here's the clip at the end, and this is Pavel Durov talking to Tucker Carlson.
Attention from the FBI, the security agencies, wherever we came to the US. To give you an example, last time I was in the US, I brought an engineer that is working for Telegram, and there was an attempt to secretly hire my engineer behind my back by cybersecurity officers or agents, wherever they are called.
The US government tried to hire your engineer?
That's my understanding. That's what he told me.
To write code for them or to break into Telegram?
They were curious to learn which open source libraries are integrated to the Telegram's app, on the client side, and they were trying to persuade him to use certain open source tools that he would then integrate into the Telegram's code that, in my understanding, would serve as backdoors.
Would allow the US government to spy on people who use Telegram?
The US government, or maybe any other government, because a backdoor is a backdoor regardless of who is using it.
You're confident that happened?
Yes. There is no reason for my engineer to make up the stories. Also because I personally experienced similar pressure in the US. Whenever I would go to the US, I would have two FBI agents greeting me at the airport, asking questions. One time I was having my breakfast at like 9 a.m. and the FBI showed up at my house that I was renting. And that was quite surprising. And I thought, we're getting too much attention here. It's probably not the best environment to run.
Why would had you committed a crime?
No, they were interested to learn more about Telegram. They knew I, left Russia. They knew what we were doing, but they wanted details. And my understanding is that they wanted to establish a relationship to, in a way, control Telegram better. I understand they were doing their job. It's just that for us running a privacy-focused social media platform, that probably wasn't the best environment to be. Telegram is a large platform. We are popular in many, many countries. And we've been receiving a lot of requests, demands. Some of them were legitimate. Right? If there was a group of people who was promoting violence, there was some terrorist activity that was spreading violence in some parts of the world, publicly posting things that any decent human being would disallow or wouldn't want to be posted, we would help them. But in some other cases where we thought it would be crossing the line, it wouldn't be in line with our values of freedom of speech and protecting people's private correspondence, we would ignore those.
Can you give us an example of a request that you thought crossed into censorship and spying, violating people's privacy?
After the events of January the 6th, we received a letter from, I believe, congressmen of the Democratic side, and they requested that we would share all the data we had in relation to what they called this uprising. And we checked it with our lawyers, and they said, you better ignore it. But the letter seemed very serious, and the letter said, if you fail to comply with this request, you will be in violation with the US Constitution. They wanted the data of people, who were demonstrating in Washington or wherever they were doing. 2 weeks after that letter, we got another letter, a new letter from the Republican side of the Congress. And there we read that if we give out any data according to the previous request, we would be in violation of the US Constitution. So we got 2 letters that said whatever we do would be violating the US Constitution.